Hello, wherever you are in any part of the world. Hello from my heart to yours.
Hey everybody, welcome to Downballot. We do this show most Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. This is listener and viewer supported programming. So go to echoplexmedia.com and click the support link. Find your favorite way to support. I suggest you buy some merch, but you can make your own decisions. I'm producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr.
And with you as always, the Councilman. You can find me on X at THE_Councilman. You can also find me in the club. You can find me if you're looking for me. You can find me up in your business. I'm everywhere. I am omnipresent. I am the Councilman.
I don't think we can find you in the club.
That's probably true. You can find me at the Fish Show.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Do you wear
There's
Birkenstocks?
an animal called Fish.
Do you wear Birkenstocks?
I definitely wear Birkenstocks. Not every day. They're very comfortable, though, when you're not looking to like put on, socks and shoes and all that shit. You can put on Birkenstocks and feel pretty comfortable and go about your day.
There's a lot of Birkenstocks on the stage and in the audience at a Fish show.
I think that was true both ways back in the day. I think in the past, the sort of 4.0 Fish variety, they're definitely rocking the, what do you call them, the Chucks, or just, tenny shoes, the closed-toed variety. But yeah, maybe back in the day, they were wearing a little more of the flip-flop, the thong, the Birkenstock variety, canvas sandal.
Welcome to Sandal Talk with the Councilman and Gay Dave.
Everyone needs a good little bit of leather under their feet.
What do we got for leading off this week?
We got following up on leading off this week. We always like to bring back the stories that we get into here on Downballot, especially when there is news. And not too long ago, we brought you the story of the San Jose Police Union executive director, or office manager, shall we say, who was seemingly very guilty of trafficking some drugs through her office. And we're going to learn more about what's going to happen with her her plea and her sentencing.
As part of an agreement with federal prosecutors in court, Joanne Segovia admitted to illegally importing more than 17,000 opioid pills into the United States while serving as the executive director of the San Jose Police Officers Association. Attorney Adam Gassner spoke outside of the courthouse after his client pleaded guilty to one count of unlawful importation of a controlled substance.
Ms. Segovia, who is a victim of her own addiction, in recovery, is now admitted culpability to all the charges in the charging document, and we're prepared to go to sentencing.
In March of last year, the 20-year veteran of the SJPOA was charged after a Homeland Security investigation revealed her role in a scheme to distribute drugs. Originally, investigators said those drugs included a fentanyl analog, but they have since corrected what they found was an error in testing. Tuesday, prosecutors said she instead had thousands of pills of tapentadol sent to and distributed from her home, ordered on personal and SJPOA computers.
This is not a fentanyl case. It never was a fentanyl case. And we are extremely appreciative that the U.S. Attorney's Office went ahead and clarified the record.
Gassner presented evidence he said proves Segovia ordered the pills to feed an addiction and not for profit. Gassner says he hopes the judge considers Segovia's efforts to recover, lack of criminal history, and other personal factors when deciding her sentence. But legal analyst Stephen Clark says it might not be that simple.
Is there going to be a message sent here that is above and beyond the average citizen because of her position within the police department?
Hopefully.
To other people who may want to get involved in this kind of international trafficking, this is not going to be tolerated.
A private investigator hired by the POA compiled a
I love how there's just nobody in downtown San Jose whenever they have any images of it.
POA was involved in Segovia's crimes.
Segovia faces a maximum of 20 years in prison. She will be back in court for sentencing in January 2025. In San Jose, Dustin Dorsey, ABC 7 News.
So I don't think it really matters that much whether or not it's fentanyl.
No, not really. It's the principle of the matter and the position, and just what was used, the tools that were used, and I don't know. 70,000 pills, is that a lot? I don't know.
I mean, I think he's lying when he's like, she did this to feed her addiction. I think she did it to. I mean, she probably took some of the fucking pills, but I think she did it to feed her checking account or the piles of money under her mattress or whatever.
I mean, maybe getting into it a little deeper, perhaps, she was getting them at the bulk rate, right? And then selling some on to feed her addiction by, she doesn't pay for what she does, right? But she covers that by selling on whatever she gets at a much higher bulk rate. Anyway, who knows? Who knows how these things happen? I don't know anything about trafficking in narcotics. Gee, golly gosh. But it is, I do want to clarify, she was not a police department employee. The police union is a separate entity from the police department, even though their officers are police officers. They are not employees of the Police Officers Association. She is. So she was not an employee of the city. She was not an employee of the department.
Yeah, it's a union.
But still not a great look for the union. And they get involved heavily in our politics locally and in determining council elections, and anything like this is just not going to make them look very good.
This leaves open for, like, if somebody's trying to negotiate with the police union, they do look at the person from the police union and be like, "Are you high?
Are you guys high? Do you endorse that guy, not me?" Yeah, so they should certainly be watching out for what's going on in their office, but I'm not surprised that something like this happened. It's pretty loosey-goosey over there. And I knew this lady. She's a very nice lady. I mean, she's like anyone's soccer mom, right? Who worked behind the desk and managed the office for a bunch of jackass cops who couldn't find their ass from a hole in the ground. So she seemed pretty together, and like she was running things pretty well, and she obviously was running a couple of different hustles pretty well, but got caught.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. That's a lot of pills.
I don't do pills. I was trying to do the math, right, of how long it would take me to go through 70,000 pills personally, and that just seems like a long time.
I hate that shit. I hate like opiates and stuff. I don't like
or
the way
one
they make
night
me feel anyway. So
yeah. It's just there's just only a certain amount you could take, right, of those before they would kill you, right? Or it would at least knock you out.
That's why you buy extra for friends. It's just like when me and my friends would need some E, and we'd all throw in together before the party and buy 20 pills so that we could get like a bulk rate. That's all she was doing. Exactly.
And then she basically is using for free, right? She's selling it on to her friends and getting that bulk rate, and then just her pills, her supply.
Well, she was unless
she's pocketing a little bit too.
Yeah, unless she had like one hell of a habit, she was pocketing quite a bit of money. Unless she was selling them at a very small markup, but I don't know. That industry doesn't work that way.
The question of how deep her habit was, and the mitigating factors, that's all going to be brought into play during sentencing. Now that she has a plea, the judge can look at all of that, and she or he is going to look at all of that and determine what the best sentence is. I don't think it's going to be 20 years. I don't even know if she's going to get a ton of prison time. She might get a lot of probation and fines and community service and treatment and other things, which she should get.
This is the Fed. They're going to give her time. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't. I mean, she's not. She pled out and is taking responsibility, and that's going to count for something. But this isn't. This isn't the county or the state. This is the Fed. She's going to get time.
Yeah. So maybe, but a minimal amount. I don't see soccer mom getting that.
I don't know. They didn't say anything. This might be one of those mandatory minimum 5 years things. I don't know that.
Well, no. When they said up to 20 years, so first offense and pled down to one count. So, we shall see. We will follow up. I can tell you that much. Downballot follows up.
And speaking of crimes, we're going to move on into Downballot watch.
Yeah. Speaking of crimes in San Jose and council elections. This is actually a really sad story, and I was trying to find one of the pieces that didn't really delve into the specifics because it can be triggering to some audiences, and we do apologize here in Downballot. We don't want to do that. But this is a pretty interesting story that's pretty much taken over all of the news cycle here in San Jose. So we're going to learn more about the fallout from the investigation that we told you about last week.
More fallout tonight from the investigation into a San Jose City Council member accused of sexual misconduct with a minor. Omar Torres maintains he is the victim in this case and went to police because he was being extorted.
Now, the details that have come to light in court documents are disturbing, and now the police officers union is criticizing the city. Here's NBC Bears Robert Honda.
Yeah, the police officer union, you got a lot of stink on you too.
A number of issues
are they high?
Immediately from the search warrant affidavit, but many close observers say there is so much more that will come out. San Jose Councilman Omar Torres, in a statement, said immediately and emphatically he is innocent and that the lurid texts laid out in the search warrant affidavit were private conversations between individuals of age and totally fictitious. No criminal charges have been filed, but many observers say the affidavit is opening up many new areas of scrutiny, including his actual residence and whether he actually lives in the downtown district he represents, and who at City Hall knew about Torres' activities. The affidavit shows Torres acknowledges paying an alleged extortionist about $22,000 to prevent nude pictures and videos from being revealed, and texts about a young boy.
What the fuck?
Very disturbing and so lurid when you read these texts, particularly the injection of the 11-year-old boy reference. That's something that law enforcement is carefully going to look at to see whether there's anything on these devices to suggest that he is interested in underage individuals.
The San Jose Police Officers Union has called for Torres.
Well, 11 and underage are like, I don't know, 11 is like, you know what I'm saying? Like obviously don't hook up with people that are underage, but there's a lot of room between 11 and the age of consent, right? Like that's yikes, dude. 11, fuck, dude. Yikes.
Launching a probe into how the investigation information got leaked instead of into Torres, calling it unprofessional and dangerous antics. Sounds like a cover-up, and claims the city wanted to pull detectives off the Torres case to find the leaks.
You should be condemning this behavior. You should also be asking for Omar's immediate resignation. The silence at City Hall is deafening on this, and to me that's damning.
Why do you think it's silent?
I think there is a genuine concern and worry that people knew things and didn't act on it.
Should someone have rung out the bell and said, there's something amiss here? And so,
well, it depends on if anybody knew.
I think it's important to get to the bottom of exactly when all this came to light to the city and not just to the San Jose Police Department.
The city manager's office responded to the POA letter today, calling it unfortunate and inaccurate, and said it would respond in more detail next week, saying at this point their priority remains the integrity and continuity of the criminal investigation. In San Jose, Robert Honda, NBC Bay Area News.
Okay,
So there's a lot of fucking questions here. Like, in what context would you be talking with other adults about like an 11-year-old boy in a sexual way? Like,
there's no real way I can see that coming up in anything, any way that's legal.
Other than like a journalistic endeavor, I guess we're doing it right now, but it's because it's a fucking it's a huge local news story. So that's that's different, I suppose.
Right.
But we're talking about someone else talking about. We're not saying, oh, I don't even want to know what's in the text. It's fucking gross, dude.
Yeah, I was trying very hard not to.
So the one they showed that said, oh, probably said I fucked a 17-year-old. I mean, was he 19? Like, was he recounting a time when he was like 19? Do you know what I'm saying? Like that stuff. But again, like, does this guy not know that he's a fucking elected official and that he shouldn't be talking to any of that shit to anybody about anything? He should probably keep his private life as private as is humanly possible. Not talk about underage people at all, unless it's like, my daughter is 16 and the boy she's dating is 17.
Yeah, he looks young, but he is definitely old. I want to say he's over 40. He might be.
Yeah, he's like in our age, more or less, right?
Yeah. So it's definitely not. I mean, there's really no age when it is cool. Sorry, but it definitely at that point where any kind of reference to this is going to create a red flag, no matter what, even if it is in jest, right, or in fun, or fantasizing, like he's been talking about fantasizing. That's sort of what how he's framing it. He's talking about fantasies. The things he's talking about in the text didn't actually happen. He was fantasizing about it to impress the person he was texting with, right? And to maybe fantasize about them. Who knows? Whatever his fantasies are.
So if you think it's going to impress the person you're talking to talk about something like that, maybe find someone else to talk to.
I mean, yeah, but maybe that's the kind of people you want to be talking to, and that's your predilection.
So do we know how this stuff came to light? Oh, he went to the cops saying he was being extorted. That is
what we're hearing, at least, that it wasn't a situation where anything was leaked to the press or to the police. This was a situation where he went to the police and requested help, but only after getting himself into some trouble. So now we're going to find out the fallout from that, because there's the extortion, but there's also the original sin, as it were, too. So
just real quick, everybody, no matter what you're doing, if you're talking to people online, you're on online dating or whatever, be careful, and don't do any of this. But like even in other sorts of situations, just be careful. You don't know who the other person is. You don't know if they're trying to take advantage of you. Like one of the things that I do is to avoid, not that I'm going to get myself embroiled in something like this. This is crazy, right? But I'm assuming this might be somebody you met on Grindr or like a dating app or something. Somebody who doesn't really know would be my guess. But just don't engage in endless chat with anybody on these that you meet on these dating apps. Like for me, if we're not setting a date to meet within a couple weeks of fucking chatting, I'm out. Like that little AOL instant messenger man. You remember that that little yellow running guy? Yeah, I'm out like that. Yeah. Not because I'm going to end up talking this dumb shit, but it's just a waste of your fucking time.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and you should also be careful in person too, in the club. Not that as producer Dave pointed out, not that I'm in the club very often, but when you're in the club, right, make sure that check your surroundings, make sure you're aware of where your drink's at all times, because in person is just as dangerous sometimes as online, and even more so. So,
well, the thing about the online interaction is there's a record of everything that you've said.
True, very true.
So
unless it's in the chat,
right? You
guys are safe.
No, y'all are going to be Exhibit A for me one day, I'm sure. So, yeah, just again, like, if it feels, if you're online dating, I know a lot of people that watch and listen are probably single. If you're online dating and things start to seem a little bit weird, just get the fuck out of the conversation and find somebody else to talk to, because like, if in this case, I think he was the one who probably made it weird. But the person on the other end figured out that he was a city councilman, and they were like, oh, well, it would be a shame. It would be a shame if these were to become public. Do you have 22 grand? Because that's how much I owe on my car.
I mean, I guess I can feel comforted knowing that I'm more than likely not going to get embroiled in something like this, because I haven't been on a date, producer Dave. This Sunday, it's going to be 12 years since my first date with the good wife. So it's been 12 years since I've been on like a proper date.
Well, I mean, married people get themselves embroiled in these kinds of scandals too. I don't think that's in your character. I'm just saying that the marriage isn't the be all end all of keeping yourself out of this kind of trouble. You
never know. Don't meet your heroes. That's all I'm saying. Councilman fans out there, all one of you.
Chat is congratulating you on the 12th anniversary.
Thank you so much. I'll pass it along to the good wife.
Will it be the dozenversary? The dozenversary?
The dozenversary. I don't know what the 12 is. Honestly, I don't think there's anything special for the does. Maybe
I think in your case, it's a new pacifier for the bad baby, or
that must be it.
I don't know.
A box of Stan's donuts, maybe.
Maybe a babysitter and a night out for dinner.
Grandma's coming over. We are going out. All right, let's move on.
Instead of finding you in the club, we'll just find you sitting on a couch exhausted off your ass at the fucking Art Boutique show.
That's exactly where you will find me at any Art Boutique show, is in the back on the couch, because that is my pleasure. I've danced enough in my Birkenstocks at the Fish Show many times when I was a younger lad, and now I have earned the right to sit back and just couch dance to my favorite band.
So, look, sounds like Evan and Sam did have their debate.
They did, on a Friday night, no less, on Yom Kippur. So, some of our Jewish community could not tune in, unfortunately.
Is that on the high holidays? Those who observe, by the way, Jews are a diverse group of observant, non-observant believers, atheists, etc.
Just like all of us, right? Like, yeah, I'm an Easter Mass Catholic myself. I don't know what the same is for a Jew. Is that like a Yom Hanukkah?
Yeah, it's the high holidays. Probably the high holidays, like Rosh Hashanah and
a Rosh Yom Jew. Anyway, so Happy New Year for Rosh Hashanah, and then hope you all have a wonderful Day of Atonement. Hope you're not atoning for too much, because there's only so much we can control, folks. Anyway, long story short, they had their debate last Friday night. We're going to hear a few clips from it, and then perhaps on a special recorded down ballot at some point we can dig into it a little deeper, because it was a pretty fun time. But here's the highlights.
Our other top story this evening. Highly anticipated face-off. For months, attacks have been escalating between two Democrats vying for a coveted Bay Area House seat. Tonight, that back and forth came to a head right here in our NBC.
So on optics, just right there, Evan could have done more to make himself look younger, I think, which would have played really, really well, especially because Sam looks older than I think he usually does in that. I know Evan was probably trying to look respectable or whatever, but optics-wise, I mean, he looks fine. Like, Evan's a good looking guy, but I think he could have done a little. I don't know if he would have just done something to make himself appear younger.
He's trying to appeal very much to the older demographic, actually, here, to the moms out there, all the moms, all the Asian moms and the white moms and the moms in general. He's absolutely trying to appeal to that, and just be the clean cut, nice looking kid in a suit who is born and raised in the community and doing good by the community, and just wants to do good in Congress. And he's so handsome. And that's the look he's going for.
For the two candidates battling to fill the seat being vacated by Congresswoman Anna Eshoo.
And candidates Sam Liccardo and Evan Lowe trading jabs, lists of endorsements, and making their case for your vote.
Decision 2024, the race for California's district.
What an ugly set.
Right out of the gate, a very direct question and some very accusatory answers as Sam Liccardo and Evan Lowe were asked if they're running an ethical campaign. For months, the two have traded
probably no
campaign funding, a controversial recount, and track records. Former San Jose Mayor Liccardo with a softer voice because he's recovering from laryngitis, and Assemblymember Lowe both on the attack.
We should agree on one basic principle. Every vote should be counted. Every vote should be counted. And we can agree on that.
Twice if possible.
Evan Lowe.
I know we're going to talk about many of these different issues, but it is important that we're talking about our records, not just rhetoric.
The debate for the 16th congressional district seat was hosted by NBC Bay Area at our studios, along with Telemundo 48 and KQED Radio. It covered a wide range of issues from the Israel-Hamas war to immigration, homelessness, tech, and crime. The candidates weaving jabs into their answers early and often.
I have to tell you about this fuzzy math. 200 minus 500 equals negative 300. Sam, you still owe the city of San Jose and its residents 300 police officers for the devastation.
Fuck 300 police officers.
It's important to be smarter on crime. And when I led San Jose, I left the city with the lowest homicide rate of any major city in the United States.
The candidates also touched on Proposition 36, a statewide ballot measure that would make it easier to increase penalties for drug and retail theft crimes.
I'm not in support. I refuse to go back to the era of mass incarceration.
Arrest does not mean incarceration. What we need is
what?
accountability.
Well, where do they take you? Sam, where the fuck do they take you after they put you under arrest? I guess there's situations where you're technically under arrest and then they give you a court summons, but like, what the fuck, dude?
Calling out what he says is a lack of leadership from Lowe at the state level, while Lowe spent time hitting Liccardo on what he says was failed leadership in his time as mayor of San Jose.
There's certainly no love lost between these two candidates. We don't have a lot of polling in a race like this, but there was a poll about a month ago, an independent poll that showed that 40% of voters in this district were still undecided.
Jackson calling this debate a draw, while both
they're going to break for Evan Lowe if they're undecided.
To capture those on the fence.
What voters really want is they want to see someone who's got a clear plan of action and demonstrate a record of getting things done. And I'm very confident that voters are going to see that.
I think the key goal is to making sure that we're getting our message out about who has the experience and the record to best deliver for the most existential issues that we care about.
Well, if you didn't get to watch the debate live, we have got you covered. You can watch a replay of the entire debate on our website, NBCBayArea.com, and on our YouTube channel.
So a couple things, like, I don't know. So Sam's was right that the homicide rate in San Jose was incredibly low, but it was part of like a broader trend. He, like, I don't know, he can't really take credit for that, but I mean, why not, right? I mean, why wouldn't you take credit for it?
I mean, I also don't know what what rate he's talking about. Is it like the last year in office that he had, right? That particular year was really low. Was it a trend that was, trending lower? Like what is the lowest mean, right? It could have just been that year. And to be incredibly frank, outside of cities that just have, pretty substantial amounts of homicides on a regular basis, a city like San Jose, it can fluctuate. It can fluctuate as much as, 20-30% in any given year, just depending on circumstances and timing. So we're still a relatively safe city. I agree with you. I don't think we need more cops, but to be fair, if they're going to fight, and Sam's been fighting on the number of cops, right, and how many he hired and how many, they need, he's certainly responsible for more cops and public employees in general leaving San Jose. And he's certainly responsible for then coming to San Jose, and he's more responsible for making San Jose an employer that's not necessarily attractive or well sought after in public service or elsewhere. And it is primarily and mainly his fault. Yet he chooses not to own that and instead tries to spin it. I'd be okay if he just spoke the facts, right? He doesn't even necessarily have to own it, but he's trying to spin that he somehow made things better, and that's just not the case. So
yeah, again, like you said, fluctuations of 10 or 20% in a city with a very low homicide rate. This could be a handful of homicides. Homicides are bad. but we're not talking about the baseline or whatever isn't high. So just
40.
a few more.
Yeah.
So 10 more, you go up 25%.
Correct. Yes. And 1 year there was, I think, 48, towards maybe the beginning of his term. It did come down. We said we had a spike. We had a bad year, unfortunately, for homicides. But yeah, I want to say it trends around 40 average per year in San Jose, which is, it's unacceptable. And one is unacceptable to me, but regardless, it's life. That's if there's life, there's going to be death, and some of the death is going to be caused by other people.
That is correct. So we're going to move on to the San Francisco DA's race. It looks like the incumbent, Brooke Jenkins, faces one challenger, and I guess it's somebody she shit-canned.
It comes back and bites you sometimes, but I don't know if it will in this case, but at least he'll have some fun doing it.
In the race for San Francisco District Attorney, prosecutor Ryan Kojaste says incumbent DA Brooke Jenkins hasn't improved public safety.
We need a responsible, collaborative leader that can perform in the courtroom, hold people accountable, but also expand treatment opportunities to get people the help they need so they come out of the cycle of criminal behavior.
Kojaste is an alum of the Alameda and San Francisco District Attorney's offices. Both he and Jenkins worked under DA Chesa Boudin before Boudin was recalled in 2022. Jenkins left Boudin's office in 2021. She was appointed DA after his recall. And shortly after that, she fired Kojaste, along with many others from Boudin's administration.
I didn't feel that he was suitable to be a prosecutor in our office, that he had the right mindset or experience.
Personal qualms aside, Kojaste says his former boss hasn't proven she deserves a second term.
People don't feel safe in San Francisco. We actually have the highest storefront vacancy rate in the history of our city. We've seen 2 deadly years of drug overdoses. We have rampant retail theft, auto burglaries, and underreporting of crime here in San Francisco. The current DA has failed.
I came in 2.5 years ago almost to clean up the mess that they created. At the end of the day, it's about strategic deployment, again, of our police officers and about making sure that we're dealing with...
That's not your job, you're the DA.
...offenders of crime in our city.
A July report from SFPD shows overall crime year to year is down 32%.
In fact, in some cases, the DA is supposed to be an adversarial force against the police department.
Correct.
Jenkins attributes to her leadership. Kojaste speculates not all crime is getting reported.
Now, this year we have less police officers, less 911 operators, more businesses have left. It's just a political stunt. You ask everybody here in the city, and nobody actually believes in the credibility of those statistics. People don't report crime.
And that is always going to be an issue as far as whether or not every single person reports everything that's happening.
Both do agree public safety remains the top priority for the DA's office.
We are seeing progress because of the work that we are doing.
I am the only candidate who has experience on the punishment side of the system and also the rehabilitative treatment side of the system. And we have to strike that right balance of both to make an impact on public safety and actually save lives in the process.
Something voters will decide for themselves come November. In San Francisco, Monica Madden, ABC 7 News.
I think him saying that crime's being underreported and stuff, I think that's a fucking dangerous game to play as a politician. Especially if you're running for DA, right? Let's see he wins. Right? Let's say he wins. And then through what he believes is collaboration between, I don't know, fucking law enforcement and treatment groups or whatever, we see, drops in crime. Well, now his opponent can just come along and be like, well, what he just said last time was that the crime's being underreported. So does he still think that's going on? Or is now that he's the one with the numbers that seem to look a little bit better, does he think that anymore? Or what's going on here? I mean, you just digging a hole for yourself before you're even in office.
Yeah. I mean, playing with, numbers is a dangerous game in public policy and public service. Now, the corporate mentality or the sort of business mentality or whatever you want to call it, the standard mentality would be, you examine data, you analyze data, you use the data to inform the policies you're making and the programs you use, right? And if the numbers aren't there, then you change the program and you do different things. Well, the numbers in the policies we're working on are moving targets, right? The number of unhoused people on any given day, right? The number of police officers that will adequately staff our city, right? These numbers you can pull kind of out of your ass or out of a hat and say, well, I'm I'm running for city council to bring 200 more officers to our streets, and you get elected, and if you don't, get 200 more officers, you suddenly put yourself, like you said, like on the hook for that, as opposed to just taking a more reasonable approach and saying, I'm going to do everything I can to keep the residents of our city safe, because that's top priority of our government. That's all you have to do. You don't have to hang yourself by any number.
Even if the number you'd like to see is 200, you can still hedge when you say that too. You can go, hey, it's going to be hard. We've had the city is, over the last 5 or 6 years had a pretty tough time, hiring and retaining. Let's say it's not police officers. Let's say it's fucking librarians. Right? Like,
same difference.
Yeah. You go, we've had a hard time, and I'm going to do everything I can to work with the city council to try to make adequate funding available and to improve the working conditions of the librarians so that we are an attractive place for librarians. And I need your help. Will you help me? Boom. That's how you do it. And then you could put whatever number on it you want. And then somebody comes at you and says, oh, you said you wanted this. And you're like, well, I couldn't do it. Did you? Right. What I said was that I would like to see this happen, and I'm still working, Then you haven't dug the hole, really. You're making the other person dig the hole.
Right. I'm setting up Mayor Ed 209 for his eventual downfall when those chickens come home to roost and he can't move the needle on the big numbers he's trying to move because he's doing the wrong things. And the numbers aren't going to move, and they might even get worse. And then the same people that elected him because of his reliance on numbers and data and the common sense revolution will come for him because he's not revolutionizing anything. So I'm just setting him up again for hopefully for that eventual failure.
This show, we could have just called this show "Fuck Matt Mahan."
Fuck Matt Mahan. Downballot episode 203. Fuck Matt Mahan.
Fuck Matt Mahan episode, which is also Fuck Matt Mahan episode 65.
It's so many episodes. Could be titled that, I suppose. Long ago, I gave up trying to micromanage the titling of the episodes, and I let you deal with it. But sometimes,
you see how I do it now? I just randomly pick the fucking the topics of the stories and just.
Well, yeah, you want that. It's SEO, baby. SEO. I leave you to it. You know what you're doing. But anyway, so fuck Matt Mahan. That's down ballot. Let's move on to winners and losers.
Yeah, the first story is. I don't know, it seems stupid, which is great. I love when dumbass stories end up on the fucking docket.
That's why we shifted things around, winners and losers. Well, now I'm about halfway through my beer, so we can get into stories like this about pumpkin patches
I like
that are
the new
pissing
format.
people off.
It kind of like ramps up like a good DJ set or even like a good band set, how it kind of ramps up the energy,
I want the drop to come right around Get Your Shit Together, but maybe right before too. This week I might come a little late this week. I don't know.
So first, I don't know why anyone would go to Morgan Hill. Well, now I guess it's probably pretty nice there, but like
for the pumpkins,
end of September, early October, it's probably 193 degrees in Morgan Hill.
Just a bit, yeah. But they got pumpkins. And they got pumpkin patch.
And some people are not happy.
Apparently. Let's find out.
Always the story.
Well, it's not a treat for some in the South Bay this Halloween season. A Morgan Hill pumpkin patch attracting a ton of visitors and getting rave reviews.
Yeah, but it's the neighbors who are complaining about the gridlock and the noise. NBC Bay Area's Marianne Favreau is in Morgan Hill with a closer look.
Did they book Smashing Pumpkins?
Take a look at this line. Today alone.
I hope not, because these kids don't need Billy Corgan yelling at them about chemtrails.
At Spina Farms, the largest crowd ever. But some neighbors say those big crowds are creating some problems. Lots of smiles and photos at Spina Farms on Laguna Avenue in Morgan Hill today, but not everyone's happy. One neighbor who asked not to be identified says traffic.
I know those Crocs. That's Sally.
Has become a nightmare.
Try and get back home. I'm a farmer down the street. My ranch is a mile away. It takes me an hour and a half or a mile to get here. I don't have an hour and a half to lose.
Ride a bike.
Operations manager Danny Estrada says the farm is working to create a back road for neighbors to use. In the meantime,
we are limited by the infrastructure that Santa Clara County has given us. So what we've done to try to alleviate some of the problem, keep the traffic flowing, is we've contracted with the CHP and we've contracted with the Santa Clara Sheriff's Department to come do traffic control.
Neighbors are also upset about the sound of this. Blasters firing small pumpkins into a field until 9 every night.
Hell yeah. No, that's what, friends, this is America, and that's a fucking pumpkin gun. That's why everyone's there.
I should have had this on another thing. This is so much fun.
People parking and blocking their homes, the farm put up hay bales and signs to encourage people to use the farm's parking lot. Neighbors admit that has helped, but they still worry that with thousands of people creating gridlock here, they won't be able to get out quickly during an emergency. In Morgan Hill, Marianne Favreau, NBC Bay Area News.
So I'm not sure that there's a high chance of an emergency where everyone would need to get out really quickly in that area. It's not like a wildfire area. If there's an earthquake, like staying put is generally your best option. Even if your house fell down, like get the fuck out of your house, but staying put is generally the best option. Like, I don't know what kind of emergency they're talking about.
Well, right around midnight, everyone's car turns into a pumpkin and the glass slippers turn into, Birkenstocks. But other than that, I can't. You like that? Do you like what I did there? But yeah, no. I other than that, I can't imagine what would trigger something like that. The pumpkin cannons till 9 p.m. I can kind of understand that but then again, only if like the neighbors adjacent have like a 2-year-old they're trying to put to bed at 8 o'clock, like the councilman.
Also, this is farm. This is mostly farmland around it. It's not a residential area.
Oh yeah, no. The original headline on the story is local farmers are upset. I did replace that with residents because I guess they are residents. But true, it is mostly farms. So it was farmers who were upset about the noise and the pumpkin cannons.
Let's go try the pumpkin cannon. Let's go at like 8:30 just to piss everybody off.
I think so. That would be fun. I mean, can we set up targets? Can we set up a big Matt Mahan fathead and that would be fabulous and shoot him in the head with a bunch of pumpkins?
Yeah,
that's
farmers.
Legal, right?
Somebody in chat's like, farmers are no stranger to pumpkin chunking.
I mean, that's legal, right? I can say that on the air and I'm not going to some trouble. Okay, anyway.
Yeah. I wouldn't endorse it, but I'd be like, oh shit, I know where I'm shooting.
Threatening to shoot the fat head of a public figure with a pumpkin. That's cool, right? Chat. I'm okay.
I don't know if it's cool, but I don't think it's legally actionable or against the terms of service.
That's what I meant. That's more what I meant. I don't mind being an asshole. That's fine by me. I just don't want to break the law, producer. And get you or this lovely network in trouble.
That would be a funny reason to get kicked off of YouTube again, though.
Wouldn't it be great? I mean, if you're going to go down, going for something good instead of like someone accidentally hummed 3 bars of whatever Beethoven. Wait, that's public information. That's public.
Anyway, let's move on. We're going to go to San Francisco. This is about the zoo. It's unsafe for visitors. That's news. The fact that the zoo is unsafe for the animals is not news.
Yes. Let's find out more.
New at 10, the San Francisco Zoo under scrutiny again. This time in a scathing report by animal welfare groups who are demanding a change. First reported by the Chronicle, the report says the zoo is unsafe for animals, visitors, and zoo staff. As KTVU's Crystal Bailey reports, city leaders are now calling for an audit.
The best way to describe San Francisco Zoo is a crumbling zoo.
Dilapidated and outdated are just some of the words used to describe the San Francisco Zoo in a report by animal activists demanding the city do something about it.
Fuck it, just let the giraffe, let all the animals go. Just let them go
into the city. Just boom,
let them go and let them loose over near Billionaires Row or whatever.
Golden Gate Park is huge. They could just let them go in there and roam around.
Something that hasn't been done in more than 20 years.
We've had animals escaping their cages. And killing patrons. We've had people getting into the zoo and stealing animals. We've had animals dying from famine.
Sir, that they were liberating that animal.
Time out. When did... we would have covered that if someone was killed by a zoo animal at the San Francisco Zoo. We definitely would have covered that, right? On Downballot. When the hell did that happen?
We probably would have covered it in a very inappropriate and insensitive way too.
Probably, but like, when the heck did that happen? Anyway, sorry. I'm that guy. As soon as you said escape, he lost me.
An animal advocate and the person behind the watchdog blog SF Zoo Watch took a tour of the facility with other animal activists and veterinarians. He said much of the information from the report comes from current or former zoo staff.
Every decision that management makes is really not in the best interest of the animals and staff.
The report was presented to the Animal Welfare Commission Thursday night.
So Avalon of Babylon, to answer your question really quick, Avalon of Babylon in the chat said, Dave, hypothetically, if I ended up in San Fran, would you help me liberate an animal from the zoo? I wouldn't do anything with you if you came here and called it San Fran.
That's very true. You can have fun time all by yourself.
Says the report has serious inaccuracies, saying in a statement, "We are proud of the industry-leading care and safe habitats we provide for all our animals. We are honored to be an award-winning and cherished community asset, hosting nearly 700,000 visitors annually." The report also recommends
And only one of them died.
plan to bring pandas to the zoo ends here. They say the infrastructure and the unsafe conditions would not support the needs of an animal that size.
By spending $70 million to bears, they will totally be neglecting the other animals that are really suffering.
In a statement from the mayor's office, a spokesperson
Yeah, just shut the zoo down. Fuck it. Not because it's like dilapidated, but just because it's fucking cruel. Zoos are cruel.
The zoo is in need of revitalization, which is why bringing a global attraction such as the pandas would be ideal to expedite and invest in improvements and enhancements where necessary. The mayor's office also says the zoo exceeds the standards set by the accrediting organization, Association of Zoos and Aquariums. Multiple supervisors are weighing in support
It's like an industry group, though.
including supervisors and mayoral candidates Aaron Peskin and Asha Safai, who plan to bring the issue to the next board meeting.
We should probably get our house in order before the pandas come here and not after.
We have to look at the entire health of the zoo, how it's being led, how it's being managed, the working conditions of the staff.
Supervisors Myrna Malgar and
Is he high?
say they also want the zoo audited. Peskin says he expects full support from the board in moving forward with an audit by November. Crystal Bailey, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Yeah, just let all the animals go.
Yeah, I say let them go into Aaron Peskin's neighborhood.
Or what? I keep forgetting the guy's name. The guy that he's on the All In podcast. The billionaire that hosts the Trump events. One of the PayPal guys, one of Peter Thiel's friends. Let him go in that neighborhood. You know what neighborhood? Like the billionaires row, where all the VCs live.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to see giraffes roaming the streets of San Francisco. That would just be a beautiful thing. Beautiful. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of zoos in general. I've definitely been to more than a few. When I was a kid, they were fun. You know, it was interesting. But even at that age, I could kind of tell these animals were not having the best of times. It was not necessarily the worst of times, but definitely not the best of times, not living their best life or their natural life. So while it would suck, you know, to never be able to see a panda bear or a cheetah or a giraffe, I'd much rather see a giraffe in its natural state than locked in a paddock, eating hay out of a bale and drinking water out of a chlorine and, clean pool.
Yeah, it's cruel. Like, it's just fucking cruel. Like this is, an aquarium.
Absolutely.
There's some of the fish and shit are like not really sentient, and if they have a big enough tank where they're not going to die, okay. But then you go to some of these or you go to them water parks, and it's like, no, that dolphin knows that it's trapped in there.
Yeah,
actually.
the orcas know. I mean, they've been attacking boats, right? Like lately, like they know. They've been fighting back.
We are. They know who we are. They know that we stole their friends.
They're fighting the fuck back. Has anyone seen Finding Nemo? I mean, come on. How can you possibly after that's hi, it's Sigourney Weaver. Anyway, yeah. Let's watch out for all of our furry friends and our not so furry friends and our scaly friends and our slippery friends, because there but for the grace of God go we as a species. That's all I'll say. Maybe we're the ones in the zoo.
Apparently, it's safe to walk to school again in San Jose.
Yeah, I guess pumpkin patches aren't too loud. Zoos aren't safe, and but schools are cool because we got rid of all the homeless people.
Fantastic.
Moving the Bay Area forward by answering a community's call for help. When the school year started, some East San Jose students asked the city to do something to make their walk to school easier. The city launched a pilot program to move unhoused people and people living in RVs off their route. Today is Walk to School Day. NBC Bay Area's Chris Sanchez met with the mayor and students to see how the safety zones are working so far. Chris?
Well, hi there, Laura. This roadway is night and day to how it looked at the beginning of the school year. And that means the students have a clear walkway. Drivers have a clear view of where they're going as they are headed into KIPP San Jose Collegiate Academy. Mayor Matt Mahan took the time to stop by the school today to walk with some of the students who instigated this change. It was a very different view. He was walking here with them this morning. They did not have to pass by people who were living on the streets. along the route. This is, again, very different to the scene at the beginning of the year when students had to walk past unhoused people living in tents or in RVs, sometimes using drugs, sometimes urinating in the open, sometimes even...
And that person had a porta potty.
...to sleep or steal things. Angeline Nguyen and other students wanted to do something to make this better, so they reached out to the city of San Jose. They worked on an ordinance to create a 150-foot buffer zone around this school and 2 others. The mayor says it's a lesson in how government is supposed to look, and Angeline says it's a lesson that young voices matter, too.
It was neat to be able to come out here a few times, meet with the students, hear what the problems were, but their thoughts on solutions. We kind of iterated together. They came into City Hall a couple of times. I
hope one of those kids ends up fucking running for mayor and beating this guy.
Together.
They will iterate him.
You are the future generation, so students, other students, parents, and adults will listen to you, especially if you show some sort of effort in your contributions to your community and show that you do want change and you're willing to work to get there.
And willing to work to get there is part of the solution as well. Now, this is just a pilot program covering 3 schools here in East San Jose. Mayor Matt Mahan says, of course, he would like to extend this to all schools in the city, but that will take money for signage and for enforcement, and it will also take time, and perhaps it'll take a little persuasion from more young people. In San Jose, Chris Sanchez, NBC Bay Area News.
This is just another one of those stories where the suggestion is that people who don't have any place to stay are dangerous by the very virtue of them not having any place to stay.
100%. God forbid you had to pass by homeless people or people living in their RVs on the way to school. And maybe, I don't know, one, you'll be fine. It's unhoused people commit crimes actually at a lower clip than housed people. So just FYI, we're all doing drugs, by the way. I'm going to go out and do drugs in the other room just because I have a house and a nice room, a special room to do drugs in. Does not make me any.
That's a drugatorium,
right? We have a little closet. We are privileged enough to have a little closet where we can go and hide from Bad Baby and do our drugs in peace and relative quiet. And some folks don't have that, so they're before the grace of God, right? But God forbid these kids have to pass by the icky homeless people, and maybe even on top of that, learn something about the world and what's going on in the world, and see that the world is fucked up, that the system is fucked up and it's leaving people behind, and they should feel lucky that they have enough to go to this school and be able to go to this charter school, and get an education, right? And have parents that love them enough to lobby their city council members and Mayor Ed 209 to sweep the homeless people away, right? For now, for a couple of days, right? And this bullshit, whatever, safe zone, right? When in camp, it's already been said by the courts, camping on the streets is illegal no matter where you're doing it. Most places, you're not allowed to park your RV overnight or for multiple days. So they're already breaking the law as it is. You don't need to create some sort of buffer zone, other than just to make a name and make some publicity and get to do a nice earned media hit like this and walk to school with the kids. These poor kids are being used as pawns, right? They don't, I think even they would understand the circumstances if someone explained to them that they're getting played by Mayor Ed 209 here.
Yeah. Well, on 150 feet ain't that far. That's kind of weird too. It's arbitrary. It's basically just so that I think it's more so that the parents dropping the kids off at the school don't see this stuff next to the school. It's not really even about the kids who walk.
It's so arbitrary. It's just pulling it out of a hat or out of their butt and just saying, yeah, we're gonna ban it near, from 178 feet from schools, right? It doesn't really matter. It's just getting it out of the immediate shot, like getting it out of that photo op, that video op. That's the only number of feet he needs, is to get them out of the picture so they can have that nice photo op of Mayor walking to school with young kids. And what a gracious and magnanimous leader he is.
Well, speaking of schools, it looks like Alum Rock Union School District. That is, what is that? Northeast San Jose. Is that
east? Straight up east.
Just east San Jose.
East. Mm-hmm. Yep,
they might close up to 9 schools.
Yeah, schools are not getting any safer, and they're becoming fewer and further between, apparently. But we're going to learn more from KPIX.
And then over in Santa Clara County, an East San Jose school district facing the same tough choices. The Alum Rock Unit District will have to close up to 9 of its 22 schools because of a growing budget deficit. Arlen Ramirez shows us what is at stake.
When school lets out at McEntee Russo Elementary, kids and families crowd the sidewalks and pickup strip. And that's where we found Kathleen Karstens and her daughter Dakota. They both say they love this school.
The principal is just fantastic. She's fabulous and has hired just the best teachers.
But soon, McEntee Russo could be one of 9 schools in the Alum Rock School District that might be forced to close because of declining enrollment.
To switch schools, I feel like is going to be really hard for my kids.
Alum Rock has 22 elementary and middle schools. Most were built in the 1960s and 70s when enrollment was booming. But like most school districts in Santa Clara County, enrollment has been trending down for years, a possible side effect of the high cost of housing.
Possibly? You don't say.
Built for 1,200 students now have 300. Fewer students means fewer dollars, and Alum Rock has a growing budget deficit.
Our deficit is about $20 million, if not a little bit more than that.
New Superintendent Germán Cerda was just hired to help solve the district's looming financial crisis.
We have money for the next 2 years. The third year, in order for you to be, fiscally solvent with the county, you have to show that you can maintain 2 years of a solid budget. And so our third year, we're bankrupt.
To avoid that, Cerda says the district will have to close almost half of its schools and consolidate resources in the remaining campuses.
This is going to impact, it's going to affect everyone. Teachers are going to have to transfer to that school. New students are going to transfer to those schools. Parents are going to have to get used to now sending their students to a new school. New principal, possibly, right? Because we would have to reduce the number of faculty, staff, classified. I mean, it's going to affect a lot of people.
The district says it will decide by December which schools will close. So for now, at least, parents feel kept in the dark.
If there are certain schools on the chopping block, we should know as parents.
Yeah. That's what we always say. Like, she's totally reasonable. She's like, hey, can you actually let us know? Like, can you open up the decision process? Because first of all, she's going to fucking know, but nobody else is going to know. But she's going to at least be able to say to some of these other dumbass parents. She's like, actually, I've been following this since the beginning. I haven't agreed with all the decisions, but I have been following this since the beginning. Where have you been?
Oh, absolutely. Transparency and keeping people in the loop and on board with the game plan is something that school districts and public agencies fail at so often. And it's really the easiest thing to do. You're not, like you said, you're not going to win all the hearts and minds. You're not going to do everything that people want to do. And closing schools sucks. No one's going to want to do that, but you're going to win a lot more hearts and minds, or at least make the process easier if you involve people in it earlier. And you're not just like, hey, tomorrow your kid's going to a new school. Bye. Right? Like that's how people feel. And, regardless of whether or not you think that their opinions are valid, or whether or not you think that you need to involve them in the process because it's your schools and it's your agency. No, it's the public's agency. So yeah, you have to involve the public, and you need to involve the public, and frankly, you'll get better results anyway. So involve the public.
School, because it's just going to make the transition harder.
Love this kid, by the way.
She doesn't care. I mean, she might care that her school's being closed, but she doesn't care.
She put her lunchbox up in front of her head earlier, like, no pictures.
Not knowing what's going on, and to get them ready ahead of time is something we need to do as parents.
Kathleen can only hope that this school will be one that gets to stay open. But for her family, the changes may be especially hard because Kathleen has 3 students in Alum Rock schools.
A list will be presented to the board in November. Then the board will make its final decision in December. The cuts will take effect next school year.
So there's things that if with more time, there's things you can do too, like especially for the younger kids, maybe do events where if a school's going to close or whatever, do like open houses and whatever, like so that the kids can not only see the school they're going to probably go to, but even meet some of the kids at the other schools, maybe already have some friends by the time they get there.
Get some little mixers going on, little kiddie mixers,
Yeah. Like
juice pops.
there's like and the parents can meet other parents from the other schools, and then they have connections with parents who have had kids at that school for a while, and they feel more integrated into it. Like there's a lot of stuff you can do to like sort of like soften the landing here. But when you wait like this, I mean, they're talking about next year, but every month kind of matters, especially when you got young kids who don't necessarily understand what's going on. The more time you have to explain to them what's going on. And again, these things where we're like, well, no, we're actually going to the school that you're going to next year, honey. There's a mixer, mom and dad, whoever. We're going to meet some of the other parents, and you're going to meet some of the other kids, and we're all going to go have a good time and, have some pizza.
It's part and parcel of the whole process. The districts and schools just don't want to admit reality until it's staring them right in the face and beating them over the head. So yeah, and we're going to find out in the next story that districts will bury their head in the sand, whether it's financially or just looking at enrollment numbers, and not want to make these difficult decisions and start these difficult processes, because this is the end result they see, right? This kind of protest, but they don't necessarily realize they could end that cycle by involving people sooner, right? These people aren't upset necessarily because they're their kids losing their school, right, or we're closing a school. It's what you just said. There is a huge transition, a change that has to happen for their kid, and that impacts them, and that impacts their lives, and you can't ignore that impact, and it gets worse the longer you wait, right? Like it could be that they could have gradually done this, right? They could have gradually said, okay, we're going to close this one school, and those kids are going to get reapportioned and moved around, right? And then a couple years later, well, we're sorry, things aren't moving in the right direction. We're going to have to close another school, right? And move the kids around. Now they're talking about closing 9 schools, and SF is in such dire straits. They're talking about like dozens of schools. So we're going to find out more about what they're going through in San Francisco in this other hit from KPIX.
San Francisco families and teachers will have a chance to weigh in on the district's plan to close schools. A virtual town hall with the school superintendent starts at 5:30 p.m. There's a lot of emotions and questions since the district released a list Tuesday naming 11 schools that could be closed or merged. Earlier today, parents rallied in opposition at Yickwo Elementary, one of the schools facing closure. Supervisor Aaron Peskin, who is running for mayor, criticized the school district's handling.
Supervisor Aaron Peskin just heard there was a camera there.
Yeah, I know. I think he's actually tied to a camera.
In a black box and needs to be put on hold until that level of community discussion has happened.
And parents at Yickwo Elementary have already launched a petition asking the district to reconsider. They say closing the school will force more families to leave the city.
Yeah, I think we were totally surprised.
I feel that my heart is broken, It's closing. Why? Why picking us?
Well, San Francisco Unified is facing a deep budget deficit. The district says the closures will save about $22 million. The Board of Education is set to vote on those closures in December.
Oh, shit, they already got the panda there.
Right. They can't close the zoo now. The panda mascot is tied to the school, and that's everything for these kids.
And shit.
What are you going to tell the children, Yeah, there's no good answer here. And this, again, that woman said it all, right? Like, why are you doing this? Why are you closing our school, not someone else's school? These are all things they could explain, right? And, well, your school just happens to be the lowest enrollment, and we can move enough of you're close enough to the boundaries of these other schools that we can close yours and move the kids to these other schools without too much impact. But again, if they knew what was going on, they wouldn't be as pissed. I would almost guarantee. There always will be pissed off parents in any situation.
But you might get fewer that are so pissed off that they're out there protesting.
Or doing change.org petitions, or wasting your time, because you do have to move forward. You do have to do these things. You've put yourself in a spot where you have to do these things. But you're going to, you'll get more support from the community and then less hassle doing them. And it will take less time and be more efficient and more effective doing them if you bring everyone on board. And the parents help. Schools need parents' help. The schools that do better in terms of numbers on test scores and all the whatever the data, it invariably comes back to parent involvement, whether it's at home or in the classroom as volunteers or in their school in some way. parent involvement is critical to, the numbers, seeing the numbers that we want to see from our kids. So if engaging them on these things is beneficial to you, it'll make your scores better. It'll make your school better. It'll make your community better.
And moving on to our next story, this is a pretty education heavy winners and losers this evening.
It is.
The Santa Clara County Board of Education, a story that we've been covering, fired the superintendent for the county. This isn't the person that manages the schools. This is the person that manages county education programs. And apparently that person sued, or is attempting to sue. And now they're like, now the board is like, well, maybe we could talk about not having you sue us. Because that sounds inconvenient for all involved.
Oh, joy. Let us see what's happening.
That is exactly right. And Dr. Dewan
even agrees with my analysis.
Forced to leave and has filed a lawsuit saying her firing violated her contract. Meanwhile, the wheels have begun turning to see if her firing can be undone and how the board members actually get on the board. Can that be changed?
A body that not only knows who the candidates are.
Inside a San Jose conference room, a 3-person panel considers foundational change to South Bay education.
Looks like 4 people.
Now the community.
Well, 3 white dudes and Claudia.
It depends on who you think are people, right?
Oh my God, they didn't even spell Claudia's first name right. Jesus
not only
Christ.
the County Office of Education, but all the districts that depend on the services of the office.
The closed door split vote last week by Office of Education trustees to fire Dr. Marianne Dewan has touched off questions about the board and ulterior motives. Thursday's panel, consisting of 2 former grand jurors and a retired educator, believes infighting has led the 7-member board astray, resulting in the sacking of the superintendent.
The influence of the board, depending on the issues, may have influence directly to what the superintendent is able to do while keeping their job, or not able to do while trying to keep their job.
The panel suggests a popular vote election of the superintendent. That's in line with findings from a 2018 grand jury report. Currently, Santa Clara is one of 5 counties to have a board-appointed superintendent.
You want a superintendent who serves the population of the county and the students and the teachers and so on.
By most accounts, Dewan did just that, garnering praise from students, staff, and parents.
I've seen 5 superintendents. By far and above, Dr. Dewan has been superior.
In response to her ouster, Dewan filed a lawsuit saying the board violated her contract. Her supporters and the panel looked to flip the script, having board members appointed instead of elected. County Supervisor Otto Lee says that body will look at that and undoing what's been done by putting Dewan back on the job.
We're going to look more carefully legally to see if that's something that might be an option down in the future. So we'll find out in a couple of weeks.
That is Supervisor Otto Lee. He says the board is going to consider the issue of Dr. Dewan and making the appointment of trustees, making the position of trustees an appointment as opposed to an elected position. They're going to consider all of that in the upcoming board meeting. We're live in San Jose this evening. Jesse Gary, KTVU, Fox 2 News. Greg, we'll head back to you.
That's Rich.
So I don't really understand, like, what advantage is there to appointing the board of trustees and switching the superintendent to an elected position?
Oh, there's really not anything. It's politicizing any process, whether you have elected officials choosing and appointing other officials, or if you have the people electing those officials, you're still putting things into a political campaign mindset and infusing politics into education and all those things. So yeah, there's no real difference at the end of the day. This is just, honestly, it's personalities and relationships and a lot of just backroom crap that's going on right now. Favors for favors, people who have pissed off other people, that kind of thing. It's this, and again, has nothing to do with the kids. It has nothing to do with the programs that are there to support the kids that are in most need, of course, because the county deals with special needs kids and, kids who require the extra attention and extra support, the social safety net kids. And they are getting disserviced by all of this because it's a big freaking political distraction from the work that needs to be done. And it boggles my mind that this can be allowed to happen. But it just is what it is when you have elected bodies and you have personal agendas. You have a board right now, and you have a particular one board member who didn't like the superintendent, and they have backers who didn't like the superintendent, and that person instigated this coup. Basically got 3 other fellow board members to vote with them and instigated a coup. But that happens. It can happen all the time. So we'll see very quickly how soon they come for our council member friend, right, who's facing the investigation, right? That's already happening. The calls for resignation are already happening. So it's nothing new, nothing surprising, but just really frustrating that the kids are the ones that get screwed in all this.
Yeah, it seems like every time we cover education, it seems like the adults are the ones acting foolish, and it's the kids that get the kids, and like, and the parents who maybe don't have the financial and like socioeconomic wherewithal to be extremely involved, they end up getting the shaft too, because they sort of just trust that the school district is going to handle this stuff for them because that's their job.
Sure. I mean, I'll be honest, like the good wife and I don't have the time, energy, or bandwidth sometimes to be the nurturing, regimental environment, structured environment that our daughter needs to advance herself. And we do rely on her teachers and daycare and to provide that structure for her. And they do. And we bless them for it. But I'll tell you that much, like from not being a parent, from knocking on doors for my own school board race, from working at a school district, from watching my mom and other people teach for many, many years in the public school system, it's always the kids that get left out. It's always the kids that get forgotten, and no one seems to give a shit what they think. And that's, you wonder why kids are so jaded, right? When they're teenagers, it's because no one's listening to them. No one's actually taking them seriously, and listening to their problems, right? We're all worried about our own shit but not about how it impacts them. And that's sad.
Well, now we're going to go back to Antioch, who needs to get their shit together. I don't even understand this headline. It says Antioch offering $500,000 to other agencies to help with crime after more than 20 shootings. What do they mean, other agencies?
I think we're going to find out, but I'm pretty sure it means they're offering like contracts with other police agencies in surrounding cities or the county sheriff to help them police their city.
Oh, I thought maybe they meant Palantir.
Right. Well, who knows? Maybe they're looking for private too, but I think mostly public. Let's find out.
There's been a spike in violence in several blocks that make up the Sycamore Corridor in Antioch. More than 20 shootings just in September. City Council voted to spend $500,000 to bring in outside agencies to help police the area at a cost of almost $200 an hour.
It is a lot of money.
So that ain't shit.
And so whatever it takes to maintain peace in these communities, we're going to do.
Antioch Mayor Lamar Hernandez-Thorpe says 3 agencies have expressed interest, but he won't disclose any details until the contracts are signed.
The MOU is determining what they will do. So some may say, hey, we just want to keep extra set of eyes. We'll just patrol and that's it. Some will say, hey, we don't mind pulling people over, enforcing the law.
The police department currently has 76 officers, 12 in the academy, and with some new hires, will likely have more than 90 officers by the end of the year. Officers are currently working mandatory overtime as the department slowly rebuilds following last year's racist texting scandal. That forced more than 40% of the department to be put on paid leave.
There are people concerned, like these officers are not from our community. What are they gonna, can we trust them, right? Like, and is it worth it, right? Is it worth the money?
Antioch City Council member Tamisha Torres Walker represents District 1, which includes the Sycamore Corridor. She voted to spend the money to bring in extra patrols because she says the city needs the help. But she emphasizes that this is only meant to be a short-term fix.
Hearing from other community partners that people need to see a police presence in the community. It's not a long-term strategy to reduce violence. It is a temporary deterrent while we figure out what is our community policing strategy.
Tashina Garrett with the community group ACE is concerned about over-policing, but still supports extra patrols.
I just think that we need those bodies there. There's too many residents that are fearful. They don't want to come outside of their homes and things like that. And I think it's only fair.
The $500,000 will come from the city's general fund. After signing, the outside agencies could begin within the next few weeks. In Antioch, Ansar Hassan, ABC 7 News.
I don't know what the solution is here because, first of all, like this paid leave thing, that's probably just part of their contract. But those people who were calling people N's and F's and stuff, I think they should have been fucking shit canned like you would from any normal job for doing that on the fucking job.
Union contracts are amazing things, right? We talked about the police officers union earlier. They are there to protect their people. And yeah, they've got the contracts that say that until and unless they are convicted of any sort of crime or wrongdoing, they're entitled to a lot of shit that most of us wouldn't have access to if we were in the same boat. Frankly, I was in a loose labor association once that wasn't really a union, but I had an association. I had a rep, and they couldn't do shit when my contract got challenged or when my job got challenged. So yeah, it's not always, you don't always have that help behind the scenes. But yeah, we'll see if this works. I to be fair to Tamisha, Councilmember Tamisha, I think that, it was already proven that the cops who were from your community, quote unquote, right, the cops that you had, were not really interested in protecting and serving all of you in the community, especially you, Tamisha. But so maybe it is cops from outside of Antioch that have to come in and maybe help clean things up. But then again, as we've covered on this show many times before, all cops are indeed bastards and cowboys. And why should we expect anything less, no matter where the police are coming from and where they're policing?
That is absolutely true. So we have another thing, and this is a good one. I think a lot of people are already going to know how this works because this is a pretty politically engaged audience, both on the live show and the podcast. But this is going to be the news actually explaining ranked choice voting, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it'll be a nice lead into our ballot box bingo in the next week or so.
Yeah, everybody make sure you check out next week's show because we're going to be going over, I think the best way to do it would be to go over things that are common to both of us and then go over some San Jose stuff as well, maybe the following week, because I am from San Jose and we could do that.
That would be fun. And I think we can also put it out to the chat. If you guys have any races in our local jurisdictions that you might be interested in hearing more about,
or even yours.
Or yours. We'd love to cover them. Let us know what's happening.
Anyway, here's this is ranked choice voting explained.
Another thing.
Well, ranked choice voting is being used in places such as Oakland, Berkeley, San Leandro, and San Francisco. Supporters of the system say that it gives voters more power to express their choices, but that is only if they know the correct way to fill out the ballot. Ranked choice voting, sometimes known as an instant runoff election, has been used in San Francisco since 2002.
The voters in that election did vote to adopt ranked choice voting.
Filling out the ballot can be confusing for some voters. In San Francisco's mayor's race this year, there are 13 candidates. But new this year, voters can rank up to 10 choices instead of just 3.
This system can accommodate up to 10 candidates. And so this is the first time, I think, that we've had as many as 10 candidates in a ranked choice contest that are listed on the ballot.
Like traditional elections, the fundamental idea is the same. To win, a candidate must get a majority of votes, 50% plus 1 to win. The difference is if no candidate wins a majority. With traditional elections, there would be a runoff between the top 2 candidates. Under ranked choice or instant runoff systems, voters can rank their alternate choices, indicating who they would vote for in a runoff if their first choice is eliminated.
They can rank nothing. They can vote 1. They could rank up to 10. So it's totally up to the voter.
In the ranked choice system, as candidates with the least votes are eliminated in each round, voters who ranked those candidates first get to have their alternate choices counted until there is a winner.
It's a majority of remaining votes for the ballots remaining in that contest.
Some candidates are joining forces to say, vote for me first, vote for another person second, a move similar to traditional elections where candidates who do not make a second-round runoff often endorse other candidates. San Francisco's election website has a ranked choice voting practice tool in 4 languages to explain the process. One of the biggest mistakes people make is putting all of their choices in one column.
You just make sure they're lining up their marks on the ballot in separate columns.
Officials say another common mistake is putting your first choice candidate as your second, third, fourth choice spots. That really doesn't do anything. It only counts 1 vote per candidate, but you won't get a say if that person doesn't make it to the second round instant runoff. So if you have a number of candidates that you're okay with, it makes sense to actually list them and rank them.
I know we're all very careful, and we'd like to think that we will not make a mistake on the ballot coming up next month. But in the case that, I do or someone at home does, what can they do to resolve this?
The best thing is to actually take action and not just leave it.
Sure.
So one of the things that they said is you can either ask for a new ballot at one of the voting centers, or
in the worst case scenario, you can actually write on your ballot, this is my first choice, second, third. And when it comes down to a hand review, the election officials can see clearly what it is, and then they can correct that.
Got it.
This is a situation where I think, like, if we could do this electronically, it would solve a lot of people's problems, right? Because it could just say, of these people, who is your first choice? And then after you pick your first choice, you go, of these people, who is your second choice? And where the first person was or whatever, you can go, I have no second choice. And then after you do the second choice, of these people remaining, who is your third? There's like a way in which like an electronic, like a computer essentially, or being able to vote on your phone would make a lot more sense to a lot of fucking people.
Yeah, no, I think so. It's just that, there's as much trepidation as there is about this and this type of voting. There's also trepidation about online voting and electronic voting, even though, as we've talked about before, open source voting would be probably the most safest and best bet for everyone and easiest bet for everyone. But yeah, there's just way too much worry and consternation about that to make that possible. But yeah, it would make this infinitely easier than having to fill out that like Scantron sheet, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, everybody, make sure you tune in for Ballot Box Bingo, and we'll probably talk a little bit about ranked choice voting during Ballot Box Bingo.
We'll have to, because it will relate to that San Francisco's mayor's race. And I just realized we won't be able to do it live next week because of the councilman's prior commitment, but we should definitely record something next week.
We'll figure it out. Podcast listeners, you'll get something. Maybe we'll do it. Maybe we'll do it Friday before Conspiracy Bingo. Kick it old school.
Sexy. I like it. All right. Sounds like a plan to me.
Well, you want to read the show out?
Yeah, why not? Everyone, thanks so much for joining us as always here on Down Ballot. As we just noted, we do this almost every Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, right before public comment. Stay tuned for that on the red light portion of the show. You're going to have all sorts of fun with producer Dave. I guarantee it. As always, we encourage you to get vaccinated, to wear a mask. Pants are completely optional. We're going to leave you with a little audible smoke signal to get you grooving into public comment. I hope you have a great week. Peace out.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing greens. Here at the front of the stage, waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand, ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later, we're all singing Queen. I get the fuck up on stage and rock the scene, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink. Spark it if you got it and then pass it to me, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside? I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rocking me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jocking me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily. We do what we want to wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we want, what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Molly say that he like jamming and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Well, Bob Marley said that he like jamming and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yeah, we do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we wanna do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want, what we wanna do, what we want is to jam. So sit back